Okay, last time I tried to put the daughter board, this guy, along this part of the main board when we found that it didn't fit. So turns out that the board that I had was this one, and it's a Rev A board, and you can see the sound modules already on it, everything except the universal. And the daughter board for the Zector sounds doesn't fit that. So Zector Labs has sent me a brand new Rev B, and the major difference is the header parts right in here. They're several pins longer, and so that's the focus for the daughter board here, and it should just line up this time. So we're gonna do that, put that on. But before I do anything else, I'm gonna take these sound modules here from my A board and put them onto the B board. Removing these sound modules is going to be a little bit tricky because you can see in there's a lot of pins along the edges. Right in here, all these little fragile pins, and you can't bend those. You got to be really careful not to bend them. You can see there's quite a few in there. So what I do is I'm going to use plastic pens as a pry bar because they're just small enough to get under, but they'll pretty much lift straight up. So I'm just going to do this, but really gently, and all the way around. You'll see that lift straight out. Boom, there we go. So we didn't bend any pins, so we win so far. So that's the meatball eliminator board, and we're going to take it, put it on the B version, right in the same spot here. So we'll just move that aside for a second. And we'll line that up. Make sure those are all the pins are in the holes. And we're going to push straight down. Okay, and those black plastic pieces of the headers and the socket should be pretty lined up and right together. Looks pretty good. Okay, so we'll do the same thing on the Battlestar Space Fury module. Just go underneath gently, lift it slightly, just a millimeter or so. Same thing on the other side. The other end, just a millimeter or so, and in the middle, boom, there we go. Same thing here, just line up all the pins, hole to hole. Make sure both rows are fitting. Do not force anything. Everything should go together easy. If you have to force anything, then it's not lined up. There it is. Okay. Now that's the Rev B board now, with both my sound modules on it. And the next thing we're going to do is get that daughter board attached down here. So here we are. We're going to put the daughter board on, and you can see the headers here. There are where the header holes are, and the pins on this thing. And they line up. The majority of them go in the hole, the row of holes farthest away from the edge connector here. And you can see that dropped right in. So it's right in there, exactly in the spot where it should be. All of those pins lined right up. So they go in there just fine. You can see that sound processor chip in there. It's pretty much touching everything. So anyway, we got to hold that in there and get the two screws in. It should screw right into the standoff. No problem. Now we'll get the other one. It's kind of hard to hold the screwdriver and the screw and the board and everything so the camera can see, but we'll get it. Could use another light. That's good. Just snug it up. You hear a humming sound in the background. That's my fume absorbing machine for my soldering station. So now we've got that soundboard on there. Pretty good. There we go. Okay, so the next thing we got to do is solder all of these 20 pins. There we go. You can see them sticking out of the holes here. And I'm going to solder those. Okay. Got my iron all revved up. Now the solder here I'm using is a no clean flux or number 245. It's a 31 thousandths of an inch diameter multi-core. I think mine happens to be a Kester product. And I use the no clean because it leaves very little residue, and the residue is clear, and you don't have to remove it because it'll be electrically inert. It won't do anything. However, you can remove it just with simple isopropyl rubbing alcohol, just on a Q-tip. You can dab it up. Cleaning my tip. Takes a little bit more heat for these few pins here because of the multiple thick traces that are attached. Oh, there we go. All down there. I just realized I missed a few pins way up near the top. So I'll get back to those. It was the few pins that were in the forward row. There. You see those 4 pins? Now, those are all soldered now. We don't need, well, we still need the soldering iron, so I'm going to leave it on. There's a little fly wire that we have to add. And I got a paper right in front of me. I'll print it out. So, should be able to figure out where it goes. Let's see. According to the drawing, on the step 6 of the instructions, you can see there's this square pattern of traces, and then it's the 4th pad over. So that's here. Okay. Uh-oh. On my picture, there's 7 pins here. But on mine, there's only 6 pins. So I better look and see if I've messed up something here. I don't think so. All these other traces in this area look the same as in the drawing. Relative to the screw, these 2 vias, the short trace. And on the other side in the same place, you can see there's only 6 pins here. Well, Zector Labs must have, I lost my camera center, here we go. Must have decided that 7th pin on the end right there wasn't necessary. So if we put this whole thing together and it doesn't work, I might add my own pin right there. Anyway, I have to get that that wire. And put it on where it is in the picture, which is the fourth one down as we're looking at it here. So we got the wire, and I have this neat little stripper. I got that in a wire wrap tool off the wall at Radio Shack about 30 years ago. And this thing was inside the handle of the wire wrap tool. You just shove the wire down into that groove. It displaces the insulation, and like this, and you just pull a wire out and it strips it. Okay, so fourth one down. It's this guy. Put that wire on. Done. Now, the other end. Now you can see that wire comes up to a via. We'll have to find this pattern. Looks like an IC or something right there. Oh, that's the header pins between two solder modules. Okay. So, it looks like pattern recognition is how we're going to find this. Or how I'm going to find it. So let's see. Here's where the double rows of headers are. Oh, it's not so hard. Not so hard, not so bad. Found it almost right away. Oh, can't see that. Anyways, on the drawing you can see there's four big vias there. We're along the edge of the board by this big trace. You can see this pattern of traces here. And on my board, that is this guy right here. You can see this trace with a little jog, and it comes up and there's a pad there. Looks like it was going to be a via, but on my board it's full of solder. Anyway, that's where the wire is going on to. And I've got a little extra length there. So I'm going to cut off a little bit of it. So a tiny bit extra left on. So you don't want to be too short. Cut that insulation off. I'm going to do this off camera, I think, because I can only do it with the one hand. There we go. So we're going to put that guy right there. A little bit of solder. I'm going to tin the end of the wire. That means put a tiny bit of fresh solder on it. And there we go. Now I'm going to get that guy on there. Just like that. Just like magic. Okay. Well, the instructions say to put these little sticker pads onto the wire in a couple of spots just to tack it down. So I'm going to do that. Okay, that's one. Boy, the little acetate pieces that come off, they really stick to me after I peel them off. So it must be a little bit of static. Stick the other one on. Right about there, I guess. Good enough. Now we've got our wire. Let's see if we can get the camera to show that. Okay. So there's our sound daughter board on there. Looks like it's got a little bit of a curve to it, a little up in the middle where the big chip is. Right under here. But that's not going to bother anything. We got all our pins all in there nice. All plugged in. Now even though I soldered those on the back, you can still unplug this board. Just take out the screws and pull it straight up, maybe using the pins like I did on the modules, the bigger modules. It would come right off. And that is it. That's the adapter for the AY3 8912 sound processor, and that's supposed to give us the 4 previously missing Zector sounds. The only thing we have left to do now is pop this thing into the machine and try it out. So we're all done. All we have to do is try it out. Vector Labs Eliminator Sound Chip Install Guide. Yep. That's the paper. That's what I followed. So we'll see how she goes in the machine.